Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Namaste. So happy to be able to join you this Monday morning. So we just finished listening to a song called Enlighten My Heart. And there were two words that were sung over and over at one point in the song that you heard. And those words were perfect charity. Perfect charity and enlighten my heart. I was thinking as we were hearing that song that those words go together so perfectly. First of all, what is perfect charity? Well, perfect charity could only be love itself. Perfect love, love that knows no bounds, the love of God, the love that sustains us, the love that we are in truth. God is love, and therefore so am I. And so when we surrender into that love, into the essence of who we are, our hearts are enlightened, our hearts come alive, our hearts wake up, and we realize the only reason we're here, the only reason why we are choosing to be here in this moment, which is to share that light, to share that gift. What other reason could there be at this point? You know, for many of us, this is such a difficult time, many challenges afoot. I know at Namaste back in Mexico, I'm in Minnesota right now, but it seems lately as soon as I leave Mexico, a lot of stuff starts to happen. On this particular trip, I think I mentioned this last week, as soon as I left that day, we brought in a laboratory to test people for COVID. And I think we had 5 people at Namaste who tested positive. First time in the whole pandemic we had anyone. And one person this past weekend, we had to send to the hospital because he was getting very ill. And I was asking myself the question, how do we practice this perfect charity in the midst of such challenges? Are these just words that we say to make ourselves feel better? Or is this an experience for us to live in no matter what things look like on the outside, no matter what seems to be happening? Is this what it really means to enlighten my heart? To have so much light filling my heart that there are no shadows to hide the truth. That's the thing about a shadow. It hides the truth that is right in front of us. But when the light has come, there are no shadows that can be hidden, no dark little corners where we can hide. I think that is what is happening, and that is the challenge today. Even in the midst of all of these things, how do we live with our hearts awake in perfect charity and perfect love? Well, Vicky every once in a while likes to send me quotes from Joel Goldsmith. So this morning when I got up, I was getting ready, just looking for inspiration, asking for guidance. I felt very strongly, just go to those emails that Vicky sends you, go to those. And I always know to trust that. When you feel that inspiration, it's so different than just an ordinary thought. It's gentle, but it's also very powerful, a strong essence. So of course I followed immediately, and I went to one of the emails that she sent me a bit ago. And of course, there it was, the whole lesson right in front of us. So I thought I would share some of that this morning, and we could just use that as our jumping off point. So let me go ahead and I'll put this up on full screen. There's Joel's beautiful smile. And for those of you who don't know Joel Goldsmith, Joel was an early example of this enlightened heart. Someone who was fully awake and fully realized and ready to share, to surrender, to give everything. And I think we can feel that here. So let me read this slowly, and then we'll come back and talk about it. Joel says, above all things, if we have any desire whatsoever for the spiritual life, we must realize that we cannot at the same time have a desire for some outer activity. Our only desire must be for God himself or herself, to love God, to know God, to commune with God, and not for any reason. We don't do it for a reason. There's no outcome we're seeking. If we have a reason, we erect a barrier. This is so important. We don't give ourselves to God in order to get something. We don't give ourselves to love in order to receive love. We give ourselves to love because that is who we are. We are giving ourselves, I'm giving myself, to the essence of who I am. And when I give myself to the essence of who I am and who I've always been, who I cannot stop being, what happens? I see it everywhere. I realize that I'm serving the Christ in every moment. I'm serving love in every moment. This is what Joel is speaking about when he says, don't do it for a reason. Don't do it to get. Do it only to give. Do it only to live. Okay, I don't know where my Joel went, but let me see if I can pull him up again. There we are. One second, we go back to screen share. There we go. Okay. Let's go back to Joel and see what else he has to say. I'm going to start at the very beginning because this is so rich and so potent. Just take this in. Above all things, we must have if we have any desire whatsoever for the spiritual life, we must realize that we cannot at the same time have a desire for some outer activity, for something that seems to be happening outside of us. Our only desire must be for God, to love God, to know the divine, to communicate with the divine. And not for any reason. We're not doing it to get something, but to give everything. If we have a reason, we will erect a barrier. No one must ever go to God for a reason. For to go to God is to commune with God. We commune with the divine, and that's enough. It's like St. Francis saying, God is, and that's enough. No other reason. Then, if we are entrusted with spiritual work, that is just one of the added things. That is just one of the added things. Everything else we experience is added to that love, but we go to God for love itself. That's what it means to enlighten my heart. Perfect charity. Okay, let's go on. In the assurance of the presence, I love that he capitalizes the letter P. In the assurance of the presence, we rest. We rest in the presence, not on our own human wisdom, not on our human wisdom or our human health or human strength. We rest on it. And it is almost like resting back in a cloud. So tangible and so evident is it. It is much more valuable, much more powerful, much more present, much more satisfying and reliable than any human relationship has ever been. I'm so glad that he really emphasizes that point. This experience is so much more than anything you will ever know in any human relationship. It is much more tangible, evident, valuable, powerful, more present, and more satisfying, even more reliable than anything else you've ever known. That is how you'll know it's true. Rest there, relax into that. He says it's like falling back into a cloud, and it is. It's like falling back and resting in something that is so soft and yet so powerful. You can't even put words to it, but you will know it. So what does he say next? That is the I am. That is the Christ. That experience is the I am, is the Christ. That is the Son of God, who you are. When the Son of God is conceived or born in us, from then on, if we nurture it, if we keep reaching toward it, relying on it, keep turning within and acknowledging its presence and power, it develops and it grows. We have to take it down to Egypt to hide it, because if we tell our friends and our neighbors about it, they may ridicule us to such an extent that we may wish such a way of life had never become a part of our experience. But as we keep it secret, like the mother of Jesus, Mary, holding it within her womb, if we keep it secret and sacred, one day it becomes evident by its fruits. Once again, that is the I am. That is the Christ. It grows within us like a child growing within a woman's womb. We nurture it within us until the Christ itself is born. And now we nurture the Christ in every moment. I just love the image of a mother holding that child, sharing that child, that light that grows within us. And it needs to be nurtured. And that's why the whole essence of what Joel is saying is, don't seek anything outside you. You are that love. You are the light. It is within you. Seek only that experience to know that. You can't want something on the outside in the world while desiring only that love. Everything else is going to take care of itself, I promise you. Just seek the kingdom within you. Seek that love and that light which is growing inside you. Nurture it, even in these difficult times, maybe especially in these difficult times. Seek that alone. Let it grow. Let it build a momentum, because as it does, the whole world will change before your eyes. So I'm going to leave it there. And since Vicki is the one who sent me that beautiful message, I'll go ahead and turn to you, Vicki. Good morning.
Good morning, Brother James. So nice to see you. So nice to see everybody. Good morning. I love that because it's one of those passages that's a summation. That if you don't have any other directions, if you only had that direction, that would be enough. But I'm going to add the practicality of how to do that to it for me this morning, because I was doing that just this morning when Teddy and I were meditating. And if we go to God only for the experience of God, it's two things. The first thing is to come completely as we are, to come with all our mistakes, all our judgments, any experience we have, and we come to the altar not to fix ourselves or change ourselves, simply like a child just coming. If we're dirty from playing in the playground, if we're all upside down in our thinking, we come as we are and we drop it all. Okay, dear God, here I am, nothing else. Please enlighten me, open me to my own holy presence that we share. And that's always important, especially for the fixers of the world like me, the ones that want to fix it all up. No fixing, no mental fixing, no physical fixing. Come as we are. And then the other thing is, and I had pulled this out, remembering that everything is a mirror. And it's a mirror of just mistaken identity. So if I'm seeing issues here, health problems here, relationship problems here, they're all cases of misidentity of my own. So I bring them because I don't want, and this is the heart of compassion as well, I think. I want to answer every call for help with the answer that it isn't so, that this holy presence is so. But I cannot answer what seems like a call for help outside of me unless I take responsibility for it and say, oh, it's a mirror of my mind. Let me bring my mind as it is to this presence. And let the grace of God's presence, the Holy Spirit, let that grace dissolve the misunderstanding, the misidentity, the everything I've been holding. But let me live in the presence with love, love to myself, love to what seems like my brothers outside of me. So it's a come as you are party, as always. Just come as we are, and don't look for the results. Oh, my sickness got better, my relationship got better. That is the key. Just because, like you said, it's about giving and seeing, not getting. Giving and seeing the holiness in each other, no matter the appearances, as also a reflection of ourselves. That there is nothing but the soul, the spirit. That's our reality. And when we witness to that in each other, Joel's very specific. He says, don't blaspheme your brother by thinking he's a sick old body somewhere. No blasphemy on your brother. Recognize the divinity, the holy presence in your brother, and that will be a worthy mirror for ourselves. So, but it's a humbling thing to come as we are, because when we're quiet, often those shadows that we were able not to pay attention to, whether they're the shadows that come up in a reflection of a person or a situation, may come into our minds. We have to let them come and welcome them, and let them be dissolved by light at the level of the error in our minds. That no, we are not any of these made up pictures. We are the spirit and the light of God extending forward here and now. So just rest in God. Rest in God is the biggest direction and healer that I know. So thanks for reading that, Jimmy. And thank you. We missed you. And thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for everyone's love to do this and apply this and practice it every day.
Thank you, Vicky. Rest in God. I can't think of any better advice. Just rest there. Rest in the knowledge of love, the experience of love. And then one of the things I just got from what you said, Vicky, was how to be truly helpful. And basically what I heard you say is that we cannot be truly helpful unless we take full responsibility for the reflection that's in front of us. And if I'm seeing disease, I'm seeing illness, discomfort, whatever it may be, this is where the change has to begin, within my own vision. And then I project that holy vision upon the wholeness of my brother or sister. For example, our dear Thomas at Namaste, who we just love, such a sweet man. And we had to rush him to the hospital. He's now being taken care of. And my temptation to see Thomas as broken, wounded, ill, dying, whatever it may be, is my acceptance of that. I'm not being truly helpful to Thomas or to anyone if I'm choosing to see him in that way. But if I look through that facade, no matter what, yes, in the world of form, Thomas is in the hospital. Thomas is working through this, as are others. But I can only be truly helpful if I'm willing to see them as Christ would see them, to look through all of that and see the living Christ within them, see the perfect expression, the extension of the love and the loveliness of God within them. That's my job. It has nothing to do with you or them or anyone else. That's my job, to see them for who they really are. So that's what we're here to do. Thank you for that, Vicky. So I'm going to turn it over to Teddy now. Teddy, what do you want to share about that?
Well, I enjoyed that what you read, because it was sort of a validation of what goes on and how it works. There's a section in the course, and it says, above all else, I want to see things differently. And that's what he was talking about. And it is true. You don't really get anything when you have an experience of God, because it's total. I mean, it's a totality. There's nothing to get in that. There's only something to be, and that is what you are. The other thing I liked about that was, if you're given a spiritual directive or something to do after the experience, then you just be about your Father's business, which is true. And it also says, don't worry about what other people think, because that's true too. I mean, I know people who ask me all the time, like, how do you know it was Jesus? How do you know it was him telling you to do this? And, that's what the whole thing is about. It's about finally being able to listen to the guidance so we can shorten the need for time, so we can all remember that we're eternal. And none of us are here, actually. This is a hallucination, it's an illusion. And that's what we're here to learn. And that's how we depart this world entirely. So, it was a pretty complete read there. And it was, like I said, it was a good validation for me this morning. That's what I could say.
Hmm. Thank you, Teddy. I love when I listen to both of you, because I always get these little tidbits of whole wisdom, like a kernel that is so complete. And this is what I just wrote down, because you were talking about how we don't get anything when we give everything. So what I wrote was, you don't get anything when you surrender into God. Why? Because God is everything. God simply reveals the everything that's always whole within you. When you see that God is everything, God gives you everything. But I can't receive that. It's always being offered, but I can't receive that unless I choose to know that that's all there is. There you go. I have to make that choice to see. Course in Miracles, or any other whole teaching, any teaching, book, teacher, whatever it may be, Joel Goldsmith would be an example, is simply trying to get us to see the whole thing in a grain of sand, in a kernel, in each other, because that's where it is. It's everywhere and in everything. Any limitation that's put on it is put on it through my mind, and all I'm really doing is limiting myself. But if I can look at a grain of sand and see the everything that God is, the everything that I am, then there it is. There's nothing else I need to do but that. Wow. I think this is a pretty good way to start off our week. What do you think? We're starting off with everything. We're going for it. Vicki, anything else you want to say?
Well, what I was feeling was we can tell when we're on it, when we're resting in that present, because it's inevitable that we get outbursts of happiness. It just like comes popping up. It's like busting out all over. It may be only for a moment. It may be for the rest of the time we're here. It doesn't matter. But those moments of happiness are what resting in peace really is. It's one of the fruits of the spirit. So don't let them pass. When you see them, don't think lightly of them. Recognize it as our whole experience being amplified and sealed in us, and enjoy it, because when we pay attention to it, it expands. Whatever we put our attention on is going to expand. So don't let fleeting moments or extended moments of happiness go by without appreciating them, and just falling into them, resting into those two.
Happiness comes from within,
Yes, it does.
not from without.
Yes.
That's all I can say.
That's right. And the other image that I just got from what you were sharing, Vicki, is that we're like popcorn. And when the heat gets really turned up, and that's what's happening for so many of us, the heat is getting turned up, and that hard kernel of corn begins to, the goodness within, the softness within starts to get released until it just explodes out from that hard kernel. And we simply release.
Well, that's important because it's getting turned up for everybody. And if people don't go in the direction of, awakening or of God, they're putting more and more pressure on themselves. And that's what's causing a lot of the conflict. Pressure put on themselves because of lack of understanding what to do with what's going on within them. And that's, in a sense, why we're here, to spread that message, to help them understand how to deal with what's going on. because what people are doing doesn't work, and it's never worked. It's only going within where they find the solution, and then all things are given.
Amen. Thank you so much, guys. It's so wonderful to share the potency of this message right at the beginning of our Monday. I apologize for the beeping in the background. Something's going on with my father's alarm system. So we'll just, maybe it's just telling us it's time to wake up. And here we go. So thanks to all of you who are joining us online. We love you. Keep coming back.